And we are live. What's up,
Oh, we
Uncle Marty?
live.
What's
Ain't too
happening?
much. Ain't too much, man.
Yeah,
Trying to take it easy. Trying to get the get that old feeling back.
yeah,
You know,
that's true.
our last our our last live with the panel, it just wasn't too productive, to
Yeah,
say the least.
yeah,
But
but we gotta we'll get it back on track. Get everybody back on board at some point. It's just been life for me. Just life been life, and so I haven't really had the time to really record in general,
right,
let alone do a panel.
right.
But I'm definitely 1,000% invested. Today's topic is God, right? And in particular, people who think God talking directly to them like they some goddamn prophet. And I find it odd sometimes when I had conversations with people respectfully, and that they think God is talking to them, the God, the creator God. And it just and then like they just having these, and I think it goes into these like when we in like I guess the Christianity mindset of a personal relationship, right? And I get that concept, but the think that you some prophet, and now God is directly talking to you, I think it's just foolishness. What's your thoughts on it? And please comment in the comment section your thoughts.
All right. So, well, you ain't start to show off the way we thought. So, here we go. It's going to be a lot of people that's going to be upset. People in our family also. You know what I'm saying? So, man, y'all just go ahead to, tighten your bootstraps up, pull your panties up or your underwear, tighten up because this is going to be one rough ride.
That's what we
So,
doing.
oh yeah. Oh yeah, people going to be mad.
Yeah,
I mean, for me is like I the topic is religion or spirituality. So as far as I'm concerned, right, I'm more spiritual. But because, throughout life you have to choose a denomination, I'm sorry. And sometimes people pick Christian, Judaism, baptism, things of that nature. So by that way of thinking, I'm a Muslim. When I say I'm spiritual, I believe in a lot of the teachings, but I don't believe in everything. You know, um, I'm not I'm not the type of person that says God speaks to me. I never had I've never had the pleasure of having that feeling, and I believe that the Bible, the Quran, the Torah is a blueprint to life. Some people, a lot of religions, they take it as a personal doctrine that you gotta live by, and this is what, and we get this in our family a lot too. But this is what's always said, right? Whenever they fall off the path, nobody's perfect. Man, if it's one thing that really gets under my skin is that, because your people are set to living by this solid rule in the Bible or, etc. They're set to living by that standard. And it's a standard, that's, let's be honest, it's a standard of the past, you know. And personally, I believe anything that man has put his hands in, it changes. You can't take it as God's word, so to speak. And we see that today by how they're wiping out certain people's history. from the history books. So I'm gonna sit back and let you, cause I think I've been talking too much.
No, you fine. You fine. I was letting you, um, to the point of when I think people feel like God talking to them. I do think the universe in itself, I think the way things play out, it is God. But I just don't think that when people be, like God giving them diet information, advice on diet and relationships, I don't think God doing that. Like God
Yeah.
coming down and you know what, I like her, I don't like her. You should choose to be with her, and this, I don't want you to just eat that. The stuff that was given to the prophets when he talked to them verbally, they wrote it down, and the stuff that he actually say to do and how to treat people, what to eat and what not to eat, everybody ignores it, and then they just come up with these new things because they got this personal relationship, and he's just telling them verbatim what to do. And I just don't think that's true. A lot of times I like to ask, what voice did he speak to you in? Was it the thunder and lightning voice, or the voice of rushing waters? you know Technically that would make you a prophet. You're like Moshe, you know what I mean, or Isaiah, Yeshayahu, Yirmiyahu, Eliyahu, whatever one of the prophets, right? So he's communicating with you directly. But at the same time, you look around the world, you seeing bombs dropping on innocent kids, right? You're seeing people starving. You seeing people dying of diseases. You see all kinds of craziness. The way the world is being ran in general, but God cares about your personal diet. It
Right.
just don't make any sense. So, and when you look at it from the grand scheme of things, and I definitely do think the Most High communicates with us in different things. He shows different things, and sometimes when you're looking at it from a linear perspective, you can't see it, right? But when you're the
Right.
guy looking down on everything, like the dominoes hitting each other, and it's doing all the little stuff, from that perspective is different than actually being the domino, and you only can see the domino that's in front of you. You dig what I'm saying? When you're part of all the moving parts, but you only can see it from your perspective. You know what I mean? But you don't see it until it becomes full circle. But I don't think that God's coming down, whatever version of God you have or understanding of God you have, coming down and communicating with you directly. I think it's crazy, respectfully.
Right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Mm, that was my spill. That was my
All
spill.
right. I mean, one thing that I have noticed, right? One thing I really believe in is blessings. You know, like a lot of what I believe in. It's just my belief. A lot of people, they don't recognize their blessings. You know, for instance, right? Waking up is a blessing. You know, sometime your blessing may come in a small package. Hey, man, I really ain't had nothing to eat today. My coworker brought me something to eat. Though that could be a blessing. But people think that blessings are supposed to be big, gaudy things. And I've noticed that a lot of people look past the little things, and that's kind of how I see my spirituality, you know. Um, but man, it's for me, it's all subjective. A lot of things are subjective. Like you said, I don't. For me, I don't believe like you brought up the fasting. The fasting. God said this. I really, I really can't tap into that line of thinking simply because, hey, I put on a few pounds. The Most High ain't telling me, hey, you need to fast. Nah, I know I need to lose weight, so I'm gonna do what I need to do. As we talked about, you know, earlier today. Like I know it's certain things, and this is what I really wanted to talk about. how do you how do you view prayer? You know what
You
I'm
asking
saying?
me?
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's real important. Like, when I pray, I always pray facing Jerusalem towards the east. But for me, it's like when I pray, I don't treat the Most High like a lottery ticket. I always pray for guidance, strength, and wisdom, and to protect my family. But a lot of times my prayer ain't with words. I connect with my spirit. I can't explain it. It's a feeling, and it's you know, is it heard? Is answered in a sense like I get like a yes right away. Because there's a lot of times when I actually prayed directly for something when my mother was dying. Hey, da da da. Obviously, she passed. So you know, obviously, the answer that I wanted wasn't the answer that I got wasn't the answer that I wanted. And through prayer and things not being answered the way I thought it, the way that I was taught God's supposed to work. Like you sitting there, he got to operate a whole. He got Larry on line one, click him through. What do you say? Yeah, if grant that or denying it like a bank loan. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like it's not really that. I yes, I pray and I think it's important, but I don't think it is like I don't go to him to ask him for stuff like that. Or you know what I mean? I just don't think that's the way it works. And I'm just that's based off my experience. However, I think it's just a bigger grand scheme of things. And it's gonna be the way it's gonna be regardless, and it ain't about how we feel about our personal interactions or the people that we particularly personally care about. Is about a bigger grand scheme. So in that, I just feel like when it comes to that, God is unfairly fair. You know what I mean? Like it
Right.
ain't about me. It ain't about this person. Because if it was, what's so special about me that's not so special about the other person? If he's the God
Right.
of everybody,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like what about the people over there in Gaza? What about our history here? What about people everywhere, regardless if you know about them or not, that having personal struggles? You see what I'm saying? So do we just base God on when people are on top? And so yeah, God, it is a God. Look how we are living. We are blessed. But the majority of the people in the world are not.
Right.
You know what I mean? So now we just, like here, I feel like we talk for God, depending on how whichever way it go. Oh, we pray for something, ask for something, and it don't happen. That's God's will, is His way. Like He's not saying nothing.
Right.
It just we got all these built-in responses for whichever way it go.
Right.
And it's like, is we just sitting here talking to ourselves like crazies or what? Or we just don't understand. We're not stepping back and understanding how it really works. Like for instance, I could look at my life and see how I think the chain of events and how it led me to a certain place and say that couldn't have been nothing but God.
Right.
And that's somebody's looking at something from on high, on low, from a different perspective than my linear point of view. You know what I mean? And kind of went on a little tangent, but that kind of play into prayer because a lot of times, from our perspective, we're asking for stuff, but we don't look at it from the grand scheme of things. I don't think God is nobody's personal God. I think it's bigger than us. I think that I think to a certain degree it all boils down to how we treat each other and how we interact with each other, how we take care of our body, the people around us, and that is a little bit of God in all of us, and that
Right.
we are different parts of God. You know what I mean? Like if you want to really get technical and get in the Hebrew, and you get that ruach, that spirit, and that breath of life, what that is, part of us, we part terrestrial and part extraterrestrial. And the
Right.
extraterrestrial part is the spirit of God that's not from this plane. So I mean, I don't know. It's a lot to it. I don't want to take the conversation too far off the point, but let's see where you go with it, then I'll go there with you.
Well, I mean, like I say, I see as far I brought up the prayer thing
Yeah,
because you know as a Muslim, we supposed to pray a certain amount of times a day. You know,
yeah,
for me, I agree with everything you said, but also for me, and prayer is a for me is a discipline. I come. I pray for discipline because I know times I could be a loose wire. And like you say, if I sit back and go through my life, like you said, it couldn't have been nothing but the Most High that, man, got me out of a lot of situations. So that goes back to for me as the whole blessings in itself. And I sit back and I like to, like, sometime I get on YouTube and I like to look at some of these religious sects, and for the life of me, I cannot understand why people go to these mega churches and some of these preachers, I can't say all because I don't know all of them, but some of these preachers tell these people, if God said, put money in a collection plate, or something as far as, I tell you, I preach a sermon and I'm passing around a collection plate. Now, we all know that you have bills to pay, you know what I'm saying, in the church and the mosque and everything, you know. However, I don't know how a lot of people feel about this, but just my growing up in the Baptist church, it just seemed like the preacher was a high paid public speaker. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing. There's really. I mean, there's some things that you can. There are some things that a public speaker can say. That makes me say, I wonder. Maybe I was thinking that the wrong way. But to me, it always seems like you're reading to me out a book that I could read for myself, and now you're telling me to pass, give you money in a collection plate. It just never felt right to me, as far as just just living in the reality of life. It just never felt right to me. So, I just wonder, and if we have anybody that want to comment. I just wonder why people feel as though that, like, who was the guy with the oh, God said give $2,000, whoever his name
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
Can I
Why
talk
do
about that a little bit with you?
that
Because I think
yeah,
that's
but
crazy. Go. Oh,
right.
go.
And that's my point. Why do people feel as though they're obligated to give these people their money for a blessing? Do they not understand that your blessings aren't to be paid for?
Well,
Uh,
here's the thing though, like a lot, because back, if you want to, depending on how far back you want to go, because the person who was teaching was supposed to be a representation of God on earth, right? The reality of it, a lot of these small churches who actually, whether you agree with their teachings or not, you know what I mean, their heart is in the right place and they want to do it full time, and it costs to rent spaces to have congregations, right? When you don't want to
right,
have
right,
people in your house necessarily. So
right,
they want to pay, they want to pay into a pot so they can have a place to teach or whatever. And then as the congregation grows, they say, well, we want to have this for the kids. We got to have this for that. And it's all based on crowdfunding in a sense. And the more members,
right,
the more we crowdfund. And then we get to the point where, now we know we're 501c3. We don't have to pay taxes and all this stuff. Now, we can operate and do stuff, right, and really help, right? And then far as in how far it goes back to when the Israelites was in Jerusalem in the land or whatever, and they had the temple, and the Levites, their job was the service to the Most High, right? All the 12 tribes had got an inheritance, a land, so they was able to farm had they cattle and all the different things, right? But the Levites, their service was to the Most High, right? To do the burnt
Right.
offerings and stuff like that. So they would get a 10% portion of the tribes to keep them going, to keep them fed and stuff like that, so they could just tend to the Most High in the temple. That's where that comes from. Now you see people talking about paying tithes to, these are not the Levites. This is not a temple, but now it's created this symbolic temple and all these different things. And what happened is now you play, and when they read this stuff to the people, they cherry pick in this stuff, right? It's not in context. And some people do understand the context. They just feel like this is their version of it now, respectfully, right? But then you have the people who never read the Bible. Everything has been cherry picked, and some of the stuff feel good. Some people could talk real good and mean well at the same time. But with these mega churches, they get the celebrities, they get everybody else, and they getting all these donations. And now their overhead for this big space is high. You know what I'm saying? So they need you to dump in the $2,000 and da 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 da. And then they do play the blessing game, and they
Right.
do, and it's like, all right, they buying the Benzes, they buying the Maybachs, and all these
I
different
need a
things.
plane.
Exactly that part to get around to be able to teach this message. But if they got it, I don't know, man. I just feel like people to a certain degree, and I always say this, is that people are like, well, excuse me, I'm about to say it backwards. Computers are designed like people. That's where the whole concept from, software and hardware. And people are downloading this software and their hardware is acting it out. So like people only know what they know. You see what I'm saying? So if this is your spiritual advisor and you trust them and they dumping this stuff into you, and then you seeing what everybody else do because it's like a popularity contest with inside of the church and all that, and you want to pour into that because you want the preacher to look at you a certain type of way. Oh, I gave 50. You know what I'm saying? Like when you in a smaller congregation, I gave 50, and then when it came around the second
Right.
time, I
It's
gave
like
another
a
20. So now he know you. And in a big congregation, if you give 5,000, and now you sitting up the front, and the preacher look at you, or might be sermon, add you in the sermon somehow. You know what I mean? So I'm with you on that. It's
right.
not. I'm not against tithes per se when you're trying to keep your
Right.
organization running, right? And you need a place. It's going to be overhead. Luckily you have a 501c3 where people don't have to pay taxes on it or whatever. And if it's doing right, and this me being
Right.
unbiased, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't necessarily agree with a lot of the teachings, but however, the universal part of it and how to treat people and what you're trying to do, and if you're doing it right, and if you're trying to give back to your community and help the people, I'm cool with that. Did you see when the girl was calling all the churches trying to get some daggone formula and Pampers for her kid? She had like a baby, a fake baby crying in the background, right? And she was like trying to get some formula, and all the people gave her all. The bigger the congregation, the bigger the
Right.
congregation, the harder it was in a sense for her to get something, because the person that answered the phone didn't have the authority to give something. You dig what I'm saying? So it was like, hold on, let me see. Well, we don't do that. But when they called
Right.
the mosque was like, the dude on the phone, like as a Muslim, was like, all right, I got you. It was like a social experiment, and it went
Right.
crazy on TikTok because it showed the hypocrisy of what the church's supposed to be and what they supposed to represent. And it don't mean that they don't. It just they got a lot of bureaucracy in a sense, because I'm pretty sure or you got to be a member to get something, because you got to pit in the pot in order to get something out, this pyramid scheme. You know what I mean? Because that's what it turned into. But it was a great social experiment to show how far away that church got away from what they supposed to be representing and what they supposed to be doing.
Right. And I'm not like I said, man. We got family members that's in the church. We had a family member that owned the church. I definitely get that concept, but man, it's just like it came a long way from the way we grew up. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's a hustle. You know what I'm saying?
It
And
is.
it's just so disappointing to see people, you know, people just giving their last to make another person happy, just so they can get a little a little gratification on life. Man, and I hate to see people being taken advantage of like that. Now it's not to say because it's some pretty good churches where I live, and I see these people every Saturday, Friday and Saturday. They there, giving to the people, helping the people.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, although I'm not part of their religion, I definitely, I definitely give them. I'm not going to their church or none of that, but I'll definitely, well, not just me. Me and my wife will definitely send them a check. Because we see they doing the right thing. But man, the mega churches, them type of people, they get under my skin, man. They really do. You know. Um.
It's like we create like celebrities and stuff like that versus true men of God. I just think like it's a lot. I don't want to make it seem like we coming across like, church people are bad, us good. That's not what we're trying to convey. We just talking about um the organizations and how they in some cases manipulate the people with the information just to take advantage of them, right? And selling them false hopes and turning God into a lottery ticket, which is he ain't, right? So if you pay into it, you can spend $1 and you can turn around and get 100 type thing. And that 100 could be a form of a blessing. Maybe he hear your prayers because
Right.
you sacrificed something that you had little of, and you gave it to them, that they have abundance of. And just from that act of kindness and sacrifice, you feel like something's going to come back to you. Another thing along this conversation is that I notice, and I believe in the Most High. That's just what everybody know. My name Yeti Yahoo. We are that. I don't need to say anymore. But um a lot of times people think that only if you believe the way they believe and what they believe in, that only then you're considered righteous or have an understanding, or of some type of moral caliber to even speak on anything, right? Because a lot of times, like, people, if you're not in their belief system, they feel like they're here and you're there. And it's just the belief system, not necessarily the principles. And the principles myself, what I personally believe, is what makes you the type of person that actions when nobody's looking, the stuff that you do. You know what I mean? And a
It
lot of
builds
the principles,
character.
exactly, but a lot of the principles are universal across the board. So you don't have to be in this denomination and that denomination to know you shouldn't kill or mess with children, mess with somebody else's lady, steal. You know what I mean? Outside of the personal tenets with inside of a belief system that separates the two or three, like, hey, over here we don't eat pork, over here we don't eat shellfish, blah blah blah. But I'm just talking about the universal part of it. And people will look at that, and people will just be in a religion and not necessarily following all that, but they feel like they're here and you're there when you're not, when because you're not practicing the way they practice or what they practice.
Right. And the one thing, you know,
Gym mafia, baby.
like the one thing I never do, like for me, this is big. Even talking about religion, I never,
Yeah.
whether it's at work or in my personal life, you know, a lot of people don't know my religion, and is a reason why I always tell people, judge me by the person I am, not by my religion. Because when you start judging people, and I don't care what nobody say, you're not supposed to be judging people, man. That's a lie. That's a
You
myth.
supposed to. That's something people hide behind. But
Right.
whatever.
You know what I'm saying? And as humans, it's human nature to judge people. You know what I'm saying? But you gotta you gotta look at their character, judge them individually, and not by their religion. Because as you
I
say, a
agree.
lot of people they'll sit back and they'll pick and choose what part of the religion they want to use. And the part that they get caught on, it goes back to what I was saying. Nobody's perfect. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But if that's your religion and that's what you're striving to do, don't you think as a human you want to follow those core tenets? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But when you start, like as I said, when you start judging people off of their religion, it's always a slippery slope, man. Because I'll tell you, I'll be the one to tell you quick. Yes, I follow a lot of the practices, but I'm not perfect, and don't ever think that I'm trying to be perfect. I'm who I am, you know. So I just, I wonder.
What are the hard parts about religion? When like people say we're not perfect, right? I'm not a religious person. I'm just I subscribe to ancient culture, but I'm not trying to bring the ancient culture to modern day. I apply what can be applied that applies to me, right? But I just want to ask you this, right? It's a real good question. I think you're gonna like it. What is it? I got two things. Let me say this one thing. All right, hold that thought. All right, so one, when we were talking about different religions, right? I look one way to look at it is like as a science, right? Or like a certain category. Like if you practice a science with inside of the realms and the rules of that and the principles and what's up and what's down and what's left and what's right in that, and you're good at that, there's nothing wrong with it. So whether you're Muslim, Christian, or whatever, blah blah blah, and you operate in the way you're supposed to operate in that, more power to you. Respect to your discipline. Now, I just want to say that the other part is, what is it about religion that's hard? Like this in general. Like let's just think about some of the tenets, right? Um, thou shalt not. That's the Ten Commandments, basic that everybody know, right? Thou shalt not kill, steal, covenant, nobody wife, murder, don't have no other god, envy, covenant, see, like certain stuff, right? That's just basic stuff. If you start getting really in the nuts and bolts, don't eat pork, don't eat shellfish, and all these different things, honor thy mother and thy father. Like, what's the hard part about? Oh, eat this on this day, take off work that day, and chill. What is the hard parts that is so hard for people to follow? You know what I mean? Like, and it's because nobody's perfect. Because it's even set up because you're not perfect. That do you is a forgiveness part of it. Is a like Yom Kippurim where you fast for your sins. You got
Right.
that. You know what I mean? I'm assuming in Islam you got Ramadan. You know what I
Ramadan,
mean? So
absolutely.
so so like it's ways it's built in for you not to be perfect. But the other
Right.
side of it is like if you're a Christian, you don't want to kill Jesus over and over
Right.
by keep because that's what the whole thing cross on Calvary thing is. He's taking the sins with him. He's the ultimate sacrifice scapegoat in a sense. You know what I mean?
Right.
In
For
that
you.
discipline, in that science, right? And so like what are we doing out here that's so crazy that we got to be like, yo, it's hard. I ain't perfect. Not directing that to you, but it's something that's always said. You know what I mean? What are we doing?
Right.
How are we living?
Right. And well, because it goes back to what I was saying. A lot of people are living up to the Ten Commandments, things of that nature. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And when you're that's let's say that's the part, you know, uh, that's the part that is hard for people. And that's why I say all these different religions to me are like a blueprint for you to live. You know, what do you mean by that? Okay, let's say for example, you know, thou shalt not kill. Simple, right? We know we know that hey, if you don't want to go to jail, don't kill nobody, right? Or don't unalive nobody, right? We know that.
mm-hmm.
Now, the other one, don't eat pork and shellfish. I'm good with the pork part, but dog, I kill some crabs. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm gonna be a sinner on that part because man, look, I like crabs, you know. So, and that's just like a small anecdote, and people, you know, it's just a blueprint on how to live your life. It's not meant, as far as I'm concerned, you know, it's not meant to be taken literally, and people try to live up to that. Oh, you know, I'ma forgive, I'ma forgive because that's what Jesus would do. But correct me if I'm, you know, maybe I'm wrong. But didn't they say that God is a vengeful God?
You
So
asking me?
yeah,
Yeah, vengeance is mine.
yeah.
If you
But
want me to
that
add, yeah, I hear what you saying, but my point was like within my discipline, of course, we don't eat shellfish, we don't eat pork. It's not just
we
that we
don't
don't
eat
dress
pork.
up as women, but that's not your discipline. So, like in your discipline, that's okay, right? But in mine's is not, and I'm not gonna get into the nuances. Is mine's
Not in
right
my
and yours
discipline,
right?
but
You know what I mean?
right,
But you know what I'm
right.
saying? But that's the point. Like that's you're operating within your system, right? And let's just being neutral because we having a conversation.
It's
Ain't
fine.
I'm not trying to convert anybody here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Let me say this. Let me say this because I'll tell anybody this because I get I've grown up with a lot of this. I'm not
Yeah.
here to save you. I don't care nothing about you, not personally. You know what I'm saying?
Yo.
But when I say that, you know what I mean.
Yo.
You know how I am. That's
Yeah.
just how I talk. But it's not that I don't care nothing about you. My point for saying this, for saying that, is to say this: your soul is your soul to save. My soul is my soul to stay save. I'm just going to tell you what I know in my religion. If you don't believe in it, I'm not going to browbeat you. That's your business. As I said, your soul is your soul to save. With my kids, you know, yes, I taught them my, you know, my spirituality and the religion that I follow, but they can have their own choice, and that's fine. I just, you know, I want to make sure that I say that because I say that all the time. You know, I'm not here to browbeat nobody to turn them into my religion or this religion or turn them away. My thing is, your soul is your soul to save. My soul is my soul to save. That's it.
Well, I'm not going. I'm tempted to like get into the nuts and bolts of what I represent, but I don't want to do that. What I was going to say.
Yeah, don't bore us to death. I don't want people cussing us out. Nah, I'm just
Custom.
messing with you.
I'm not offended at
You
all.
you know I
Um.
got it. Mess
Hmm?
with you.
No,
You
I'm
know
no,
I'm
no,
a
no.
mess with you.
No, I'm not offended. No, I forgot what I was going to add. But when you got to the last part, it made me think about like kind of wanting to express my tendencies because I get what you're saying, but like because if I do that, if I do express tenets, it takes the neutrality out of the conversation, and I don't want to do that. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean,
I don't want to
you
do that. I just
listen.
don't. I'm
You
not
don't
saying that's
got
what
it.
you did. I'm just
No,
telling. I don't know what direction I'm going to
right.
go, and that's all I want to
I
do it. That's all.
and I know you could you could dip your toe in the water. You ain't got to
No,
go all you ain't got to go all the way hard. You can dip your toe in the water. Ain't nobody gonna
yeah.
die here. I
Well, how
mean,
about this?
ain't,
Won't I say this? How about I put it like this, right? Because a lot of this stuff I agree, with what you're saying, right? But like what I try to do when it comes to all of that, right, is be a living example, right? And by the way I live, and a lot of times, outside of my house and people like to see how you carry yourself, your discipline, you know what I'm saying, and things that you do and how you do it, it might spark interest in somebody else, Then they ask you, and then you lay it on them. You know what I mean? I'm not an evangelist because I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm still trying to find myself, even though I have my belief system in a particular science that I practice with inside and I operate. I still, I'm still like, I'm like an iPhone, yo. Like they come out with a new update. I love information. You know what I mean? And I don't want to take the show off, but I am reading everything. Like, and it's crazy. I don't even have enough time. And at some point, I do plan on it. Maybe I could have you on for a segment of that to really start talking about the information and let you give your spill and your science to explain it when I get to that point. That way, it's coming from somebody who actually practice it, not somebody from the outside looking in trying to give it, explain it. When I got somebody who actually, you know what I mean. But all I try to do, personally, is I live my life the right way. But let's just bring it back to the original point of the conversation. Well, it was a bunch of original points, but just the part I like the direction we was going with prayer and God talking to you, right? And personal relationships and stuff like that. And just the overall theme. I just drew the blank.
All right,
I'm tweaking out. Go ahead, Uncle Barney.
all
I'm
right,
tweaking out.
so
You sound
let me
smart to a
say
dumb
this.
nigga.
So let me say
I
this.
lost. I didn't know where I was going.
You did say that you wanted me to come over and we talk about this and talk about my spiel. Let me say this, dude. I can't even get YouTube right. You want me to come all the way over
Yeah.
there to bumfuck Egypt to
All
get
right.
on
So,
here?
well, look. I guess we could draw that part of the conversation to a close. Let's the last 10 minutes of this broadcast. Let's talk about what's up and coming. What we got planned.
Um,
What's
well,
going on with Unfiltered?
honestly, man. Okay, so I know everybody. I be getting hearing little of this. Man, how come you keep having all these intros, but you not live? Okay, so here's the deal. I wanna be able to do reactions while I'm talking, cause if anybody know, I'm very very heavy into political stuff.
Yeah.
And into politics. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm a progressively independent.
Hmm.
So I want to do a lot of reactions, to what's going on of the day. Um, because of work, and to be quite honest, well, it's three things. One, I make furniture, so that and work and by my anniversary being here, I really haven't had time to really study what I need to do. The other half, I've pretty much been BSing because it's really something that if I really want to do it, I would have did it. So um, I'm gonna have to travel to Egypt and get some help. It's for me, like asking for help. I'd rather crawl across a bed of glass. So, but sometimes, and that's the arrogance in me, and sometimes, I gotta admit that I need help. So,
Yeah.
um, I'm
I get
ready to
that.
get some help and get this thing started. So I'm gonna say January. Everybody I know. Why January? Okay. My birthday, my son's birthday, my grandson's birthday. So I would rather be ready by the first of the year and hit the ground running. But
Yeah.
until then, I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna be here and learning this craft and getting better with my hosting skills and learning from you and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Trying to trying to hide this cord better.
Hey, yo, that is a thing. You got, it look like you got dreadlocks. You got to sling it back. Is this just, yo? I know pain over there, man. I can't say feel your pain. That's a pause. That's crazy.
I don't know, man.
So
Especially
um
being
so
out
so we
here.
could look forward to seeing you in January is what you're saying.
Yup.
All
See,
right.
I couldn't
I
say
am
all.
going
I
to
had to.
I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead. I'm sorry.
No,
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 I
go ahead.
had. Go ahead. I had to go all the way around the mulberry bush to get to that point. So that's why I say I gotta be
Yeah.
better at this hosting thing.
Well, I am looking forward to hearing your progressive independent views. I know they're gonna be leaning, I guess on some things you be like kind of like leaning left and then leaning right depending on certain things. Yeah, and that's I like that because like that kind of that might be a new movement, because I could probably agree with that. You know what I mean? Because I ain't trying to take people back to the Stone Age, and it's like, yo, we gotta accept when you say progressive, people, like to define it in their own ways, but like it's like we live in a new day with different challenges, so we got to be able to. We got a lot of the new stuff is not going anywhere, so we got to kind of work with it, and we're not bigots, so we're gonna be progressive in a sense where it is acceptance and tolerance because these people are not going nowhere and ideas are not going nowhere. And when he say progressive, it's different ways how to coexist instead of being like, I get it. I already know where you're going, so I'm looking forward to it. Me on the other end, I don't know if I really want to. I got strong political views, and they have changed with the environment. And when the opportunity arises, I may, like you said, do a reaction to something. I do have some views. Maybe I could jump on your show and kind of spew them to get it off my chest or whatever. But I am leaning in the direction. So what we're doing, we're going to bring back For Better or Worse. If you haven't seen any of the For Better or Worse episodes, it's when me and my wife we talk about our marriage or just different relationship topics. We did 8 episodes. We had guests. We are going to bring that back next year. We're going to call it season 2. You know what I mean? And I think these 8 episodes, we want to sit down with a couple, whether married, long relationship, or whatever, new, and like just have fun and talk about this relationship stuff, marriage stuff. And I think we're gonna wait until we get all eight episodes recorded before we start rolling it out. Then I plan to step up my reactions. Keeping up with the latest topics or whatever to keep the show in the algorithm. Also, I may be starting another channel called Coffee and Books. Um, Sidebar: if anybody interested to join the book club, I'm gonna start a book club. Uh, say something in the comment section. I just bought a classic that should be here tomorrow. It's a little primitive now, but it's Be More Careful. Now, yeah. So all the other stuff is like scholarship, Sumerian tablet stuff. Like that's probably gonna be my first episode, which is gonna have a bunch of spin-offs. And I'm working on that in the background. It's so much information. It's like where do I start to get do the books I want to talk about, to get that episode, which is gonna be a series of daggone, I don't know, but it's in the working. But I do want to like this. It's not everything is not going to be real deep. It's going to be books like Be More Careful, comic books. I don't know if you know
Comic
that.
books.
Yeah. Mass Appeal, NOS label, they got a deal with Marvel, and they're doing a comic book for all like the people on the label, like Tony Stark's. We already know that's Ghostface. You know what I mean? So anyway, I have a copy of the magazine. I haven't opened it. I think I'm gonna buy another one and keep one as a collector's item. You see what I'm saying? But so like we just gonna do different. We're gonna just have a book club online, right? So even I don't know exactly the format. Like I do want to do the videos, but I don't want to seem like I'm trying to like act like I'm Dr. Seuss and this is what it is. I want to present the information as a presentation and not try to. I'm gonna draw conclusions, but I'm not trying to decide for the person that's listening. If that make any sense, you know what I mean. So I gotta figure out how I'm gonna do that with all of that information. But that's just one area. Like I got another book about redlining, and the book in itself is good, And it's crazy because it kind of started in Baltimore. And then when you look at the history of the city, it makes sense, right? I want to talk about that. And then because that's such a deep topic, it's going to take a lot. It's not going to just be I read it and blah blah blah. I want to add, you know what I mean? So like certain books going to take a little bit more, and it may bring other books into the fray. And some books would be just fun, like be more careful. You know, so it's going to be a wide range of different stuff to talk about. Me and my wife may sit down on the pod and talk about a book, or it's going to be a lot of different stuff. And I'm gonna try to bring, depending on what I'm talking about or what I read, I'm gonna try to bring people who are experts, if I can, to talk about the subject matter, and we could just listen and be at school and get information. You know, because I like information, and I think everybody should always have their ears open to information. Because the thing is, like what we was talking about earlier, about church and just people just giving a money away or just being led like sheep. The problem is a lot of us are lazy when it comes to going to get the information for ourselves and looking at the same information that everybody else look at and drawing their own conclusions. And people don't do that no more. And it's like I refuse to be that. I don't care about have gotten my GED in prison, or I went to the ninth grade twice because I was selling drugs, getting locked up, and all that. That was then. This is now. We are right now at the tip of our fingers. Got phones, computers. There's two of them right here on both sides. You see what I'm saying? And one in the basement, one upstairs. We are connected to information. There's a lot of misinformation out there, but we're connected enough, and we got time if we make time and stop doom scrolling on these phones to go ahead and get the information and draw our own conclusions instead of having people think for us and tell us what to think. A lot of times people don't even realize they got other people telling them what to think, and that's what the whole coffee and books overall theme is drawing our own conclusions. And that's what I got planned, for better or worse, coffee and books, and also 2 ears 1 mouth, sitting down with different people that do different stuff and having real good conversations. No more goofy stuff or trying to you know, draw people over because we talking crazy and we just want people over. I want to have something that you could look back and it got replay value. You know what I mean? And you got something out of it. I rather, I don't care if 3 people watch it. I want stuff like that. And that's where I'm at with the information moving into 2026. So hopefully by February at the latest, we have 1 episode of Coffee and Books. And I'll say, far as in for better or worse, maybe spring. You know, it's a matter of sitting down with people that's willing to sit down and be vulnerable and talk about their marriage or their relationship. So
It's gonna be before spring because we gonna be your first guest. We gonna come on there and we going, you know how we do.
well,
We
I'm talking
like to
about
have fun.
listen. All right, well, I'm gonna hold you on that. I got them on. This is, you can use this in court. You know that, right? So baby Uncle Marty said him and Aunt Kenzie gonna be our first guest on For Better or Worse. So anyway, let me know when y'all want to record. Like I said, we trying to record all 8 episodes before we release one. So that's
All
why I
right.
said by spring. I was just trying to be reasonable. But anything you guys say? Because I'm done. That's my spiel.
Yup. Um, if y'all don't know, I like smoking cigars. I think I may do like a little cigar thing on my page too.
Yeah,
Just what's the name? You know, just I'm not no aficionado yet. You know, I'm a beginner, but it's something that being as though I'm in a different profession, it's something that relaxes me. Um,
yeah,
so I want to do that, you know, just to lighten the mood up a little bit. And some days, because I love to cook. Look, I love to cook, you know. So some
yeah,
days I may just go ahead and cook something, you know. So just to lighten the mood, because when I get into politics, man, I go hard, you know. So
yeah.
that's pretty much it, man. You know, I guess we went out next. What's the name? Cause we going.
We could probably do something like Wednesday.
All right.
We could lock
So
in for Wednesday. I don't know what the topic going to be. It's up to you. It could be, we could do later, whatever's happening in the news or whatever type topic, anything
yeah,
meaningful.
Yeah, let's do something like that. I mean, this topic, this was just a little, I don't know what you call it,
Get back
teaser.
into
Just
it. Yeah.
yeah, just something for us to kick around and get off our chest, cause excuse me, y'all just getting on the end conversation of this,
Yeah.
but when it was just us and it wasn't no cameras rolling and
Yeah. I
he
wanna
was in this car, I was in my car, like yo, we was just floating.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We
Yeah.
were just floating. I don't know.
Yeah.
I may have to
Start
take
recording the
my picture.
conversations.
Yeah, take my picture off the screen and just while we just flowing. But
Yeah.
hopefully you guys got a little something out of this, you know. And I guess go from there, man. We just gonna have to keep grinding, get these
Mm-hmm.
subscribers up and all that, and we definitely can't disappear, man.
We be back. Yada mean, yada mean.
Deuces.